since September 11, yes, that terrorist attack changed the travel patterns. So yes, to an extent, one may say so. Well, good morning, everybody. Program Director, the President of SARA, Mr. Freddie Nyatela, fellow speakers that I'll probably be sharing the platform with and that have been sharing their ideas throughout the 3 days, local and international, moderators that are in the room, and the creative industry at large. And I'm hoping that some of those who are visiting the city have had an opportunity to get to experience, explore what this beautiful city, Johannesburg, that we love to call Josie, has to offer in terms of tourism attractions. Yes, my name is Lumka Dlomo. I'm the Destination Marketing Manager at the City of Johannesburg, responsible for bringing tourists into this destination and also responsible for changing the perceptions that people have, in terms of Johannesburg. I don't want to sort of diverge into that. It gives us a great pleasure that this year, at this 5th conference, the organizers of the conference saw it fit that they also include tourism. Because yes, events do play a very important role in promoting tourism in any destination. I'd prepared a very short presentation, and if you don't mind, if you can get the amount. Thank you. I've just prepared a very brief presentation, bearing in mind that it is Saturday, and I'm sure people have got other plans. And I know there's a big team that's playing.
No.
So
big teams are resting.
So I really want to make sure that I capture your attention this morning and just share with you critical points. With that being said, it's a brief presentation. As you know, tourism figures into this city for the past 4 years, as granted by the global, the MasterCard Global Cities Index, 4.5 million visitors have been coming in and out of Johannesburg, and a quarter of those are coming through for events. So as event organizers, as people that are in the arts and craft industry, you can see with that there is indeed, an opportunity for collaboration and also an opportunity to, showcase your skills. Just as you see there, like I said, tourism remains South Africa's driver in terms of national economy as well as contribution to job creation. I mean, for tourism, for one tourist, there's about 13 jobs that are created. So from your housekeeper to your driver to the restaurant, there's a great value chain that sort of contributes. So imagine when they're now coming here for events. In 2017, it contributed about 136 billion rands, which also talks to the 2.9% of a country's gross domestic product. I mean, as you can see, tourism employs more than mining sector. So there is an opportunity there. And again, in terms of the national tourism sector strategy, it has been increased in terms of total direct and indirect contribution to the economy from 189 billion, that was in 2009, to 499 billion, which is estimated for 2020. So the figures speak for themselves. Like I said, direct and indirect support is about 1.5 million jobs in 2017. Yes, we may have currently, employment issues. However, it just needs us to sit on the table and discuss in terms of how do we get our young ones, the youth, to be employed, because there are real great opportunities. And South Africa still remains as the, one of the top 15 long-haul business events destination in the world. And obviously in the continent, due to our infrastructure. I mean, we hosted the World Cup and other activities or events that have, sort of drawn a huge number into the destination. I've tried to put together, in terms of the tourism value chain, like I mentioned, from hotels, transportation, destinations, as well as people that are organizing the events themselves, and you, the industry, because as people are coming to destinations for events, who puts those events together? It's the people that are doing the production. And who ensures that the destination is promoted properly? It's the people that work in the production. There's the food, the food chain as well, in terms of restaurants, in terms of vendors. There are tour packages that get to be put together. Like I had a quick conversation with Mr. Venom there, asking him if he's had an opportunity to get to explore the city. So whether you go to Soweto, or whether you go to Alexander, or you go even downtown, there are activities one can do. So that then talks to the tourism value chain. And like I said, events and festivals, they generate an array of economic and social impact for the community in the hosting destinations. And they also have an opportunity to generate additional visitors that would come to destinations, which then will increase revenue. As I just mentioned, the World Cup that we hosted in 2010, people still rave about it even today. Events like political events, we've just had our elections about a week ago. We're going to have our inauguration on the 25th of May. There's going to be people that are going to be coming through to attend such an event. And this industry, in terms of live events, production, stage, and all those things, are going to be impacted. So there are opportunities definitely right there. Religious events, people travel from one area to the other. We all know what happens around the Easter period. N1 becomes chock-a-block with people traveling, as well as N3. So in terms of opportunities, there's definitely great opportunities that this industry creates or impacts on tourism, and it's issues that obviously we need to have conversations on. I've just also, just took a few notes in terms of now what are these events we're talking about. We talk about MICE, which is your meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. There's festivals. Who put a festival together? The production team. And most people that travel for festivals, they travel for quality. We all know what happens when you travel miles and miles, or you take flights to go to a festival, and then you get to be disappointed in terms of the production. About a month ago, there was the Italian guy, what's his name now? I forget his name. Andrea Bocelli. He was at the Ticket Pro Dome. The production there was humongous, in terms of putting together the show. We just had also about, last year we had the Global Citizen. It's one of the events as well that, in terms of putting the whole event, the production, everyone who is behind making sure that the event is a success, was there. And that was not only getting tourists to come in, but it got also our local production companies to be involved. So you've got your recreational events, concerts I've mentioned, award ceremonies. For the award ceremonies to look great on television, who is behind that? It's this industry. Sports activities. So there is an array, like I've mentioned, to say there are opportunities for one to look into. I've just got images there in terms of the events that get impacted. So also in terms of the impact, there's also the economic side of it, the social, cultural, as well as environmental. And I've just tried to look at the positive ones, which, as I said, in terms of economy, the destinations get to be promoted in a positive way. I know before the World Cup, South African Tourism and other government departments went out on a serious roadshow to promote the country because we were expecting visitors. And also we wanted our locals to be ambassadors to, for the country and welcoming the visitors that were coming in. So in terms of a positive image for the destination, that also helps, as well as revenues that get generated from hosting of the events. We talk about Global Citizen, we talk about the World Cup, we talk about even the local events. People that come, even if they're coming from the Eastern Cape, they're coming to Joburg for a soccer. Durban this weekend, there's no accommodation because people have traveled all over to be there, to get to see their teams win, and also to explore the destination post the game. And promote the specific tourist attractions. In my case, when we work with event organizers, we ensure that there are pre and post tours that get to be put together so that the event, the delegates that are attending the events get to experience the destinations. Obviously, at times it also ties in with the themes of the event. So if it's a cultural event, we then tend to concentrate on cultural experiences or cultural offerings that the destination has. In terms of social cultural, obviously the reputation and the status of the destination. Again, job creations. As the city, as well as us in terms of the tourism practitioners, we always ensure that whichever event we support, we look at how does that event impact in terms of jobs created. Because yes, it's good to have events that come to the destinations. However, it is also equally important to make sure that the citizens benefit in terms of jobs created and in terms of skills transfer. So, for example, there will be an event that comes into the city. If we get to be involved with that event, we ensure that there is a skills transfer. Companies don't only just come into the city with their big machines and everything else and host an event and then leave. Make sure that there is also impartation of knowledge as well. Local skills, resources that are used, like I said, there's nothing that beats local. So with everything that happens in terms of an event, we ensure that there are local resources that are used. Increased local pride. I mean, when we hosted the World Cup, I'll keep going back to the World Cup because it's one of the iconic events that we hosted. When we hosted the World Cup and there were no incidents that were reported, people even today still remember the South Africa World Cup that was hosted. And I can mention a number of events. We were involved with Afropunk about 2 years ago, which is actually going to be hosted now. It's on its third year. There were no incidents that took place. And it was hosted at a time that everybody is always worried. It's the 30th and the 31st of December. They always worry as to what's going to happen. We've got events that the gentleman with the cap seated there, I won't mention his name, that has been hosting in the city on the 31st of December. Great events that get people to experience downtown. And those events, they've increased the local pride. People know that on the 31st of December, I must be in Johannesburg. I have to be there, end the year, start a new year. So also improved infrastructure. Every time there's an event, one has to look at the infrastructure. This event that I'm at right now is happening in a hotel. I am certain that with the event having been taking place here for the 5th time, when it started on the 1st year, there are things or there's infrastructure that the hotel owners have put together to make sure that the event is a success. So there is always such in terms of hotels and other infrastructure opportunities. Environment, obviously one looks at the positive models of best practices, because also it doesn't help just to bring an event into the city and it doesn't adhere to best practices. Increase environmental awareness and urban transformation renewal, as I just mentioned. That talks to the infrastructure in terms of the destination. Well, when you look at negative, I won't dwell too much. Obviously, with every positive, there is a negative. Yes, traffic congestion, noise, disturbances, people always complain. You're bringing this event into my city, I'm not going to have time, I'm not going to have sleep, and all those things. Negative community image, bad behavior. as well. I mean, depending obviously on the theme of the event or the nature of the event, how does it impact in terms of behaviors. Opportunity costs, we know when event organizers come through with events, when it starts, for example, at 10 Rand. By the time the event gets to take place, you're looking at 100 Rand. So there's also those opportunity costs, and also exploitation of areas. Loss of authenticity. I know there are environmentalists that would want their areas to remain. However, when there's events that get hosted, they at times be an opportunity of losing their authenticity. Well, what can this industry look at? With all that I've mentioned, and with the engagements that one has had with the industry, on a small scale and on a bigger scale, there's opportunities in terms of production of destination content. I'm saying this because we look at the very same industry, the creative industry, for promotion or creation of marketing material for the destinations. When I go out and do presentations and DVDs and all these things, the digital, I know yesterday the DJ spoke about 4IR, but there are still some of us who are still crawling into the 4IR. However, in terms of production, we rely on this industry to produce seamless material. We look at films. Films it's not about just producing a film. Films also promote destinations. And who produces films? This industry. So there are opportunities, as I've mentioned. Collaboration with authorities on planned events is also important, so that we know who to talk to and how to plan for our events, and also look at the impact the events tend to bring in terms of tourism. Job creation, I have mentioned, and also contributions on the industry insights. Sharing ideas and insights with this industry is also important, because we need to know, when we attract events, which events talk specifically to the industry, and who do we need to put in a room that will give sort of benefit in terms of conversations. So those are some, there's many, and like I said earlier on, I don't want to take much of your time. Those are some of the benefits that this industry would have, but I would like to extend an invitation to say, let's have conversations. This is not a them and us. It's let's have conversations. Let's get to see what are the things that impact the industry, and how do those things can they be addressed in terms of tourism.